The homework for Chapter 5 is similar to the homework for Chapter 4. You're still going to be using the 40 subjects that you collected in Chapter 2. You ran an experiment on them in Chapter 3. You use the data in Chapter 4 to make a graphical display, write hypotheses. So you're going to want to check my feedback on Chapter 4 before you proceed to make sure that your data was accurate. Is this the data we should be using? In Chapter 5, you're going to make a Google Docs. You want to make sure that you know how to type in the symbols, because the statistical symbols are very important. You need to make sure not only do you include the math content, like what does the mean represent, what does the median represent. So you want to make sure that you include the mathematical and statistical information, and that means using this appropriate symbols. So if you are using the sample mean, you're not using mu, you're using x bar. So make sure you're able to find those symbols when you're creating this document. And I suggest using Google Docs because you can share it with me and I can give you feedback right on the document. This is a standalone assignment, Chapter 5. It is not to be included in Chapter 4. Just add or get a new document, and when we're ready, we'll add the two together. So with the numerical summary, there are basically just two categories to this assignment. Finding the numerical summaries, similar to what you did in the big idea for Chapter 5. You're going to find the measures of center, and you're going to use statistical labels. There is not one for the median. We typically just do MED. So make sure that you use the appropriate statistical symbols. The measures of variation, we only did one measure of variation, only one, and that was the standard deviation. And that standard deviation was for the sample. So again, use the appropriate symbol for sample. Report any outliers. How do you find outliers? There is a formula for this, which was mentioned a little bit in the practice problems, and I referenced it in the textbook, but it's not on the quiz, and you can use it on this, but I say refer to the box plot. How do you make a box plot? There are directions underneath Chapter 5 homework in that block on WAMAP. Then what you need to do is, once you've calculated the measures of center and the measures of variation, you've looked at the box plot, what measure of center is better than the other and why? So again, this is reported in your notes, and there is one or two problems on the practice problems that will help you determine that. The second category under Chapter 5 homework is a summary. So you need to go back and look at Chapter 1. Notice this came out of Chapter 1, and it's this idea of statistically significant. Okay, in your opinion right now is all we're doing is it statistical significance or not? And can you use that in the context of the product? So you should in your report say, is it statistically significant or not? So you actually want to include that phrase in your write-up. And then you summarize why you believe that. So it's not statistical now, it's based on your opinion, but we want to get the idea of what does statistical significance mean in this, and then we'll do some analysis in the upcoming chapters 6, 8, and 10 that will help you determine, is it, if I was to do this scientifically. Reach out if you have any questions, and make sure that you look at Chapter 4 feedback.